Ritter. He's also the host of the True Crime Daily podcast. Okay, Josh, what do you think here with what the prosecutor is doing with this witness and how it's being done, please?
I think it's important. It's dry and it's methodical, but it's bringing a level of science and gravitas into the courtroom that I think the prosecution needed. We had talked earlier about how some of this case was kind of becoming confusing for the jurors. And maybe this is an opportunity for the prosecutors to bring some order back into the courtroom by just presenting this very methodical evidence, talking about trajectory and weapons and things like that, and kind of bring the jurors back on board that they're the ones in charge of the courtroom and they're presenting the facts to them. And I think that's important for the prosecution to do.
Right. If this prosecution team was able to enhance this anymore, what do you think might be a good way of doing that, please?
At this point, I don't know. I mean, their star witnesses have testified, right? And we've had some opinions on that. I think the gun shoot victim, I think she did well. I think Mr. Goodwin had some issues as far as his demeanor and the way that he was responding to the defense attorneys, and the prosecution, I think, did about as well as they could with them. It's interesting that they were not the final witnesses. So maybe they knew that going in, that those weren't going to be their strongest witnesses, and they thought, we'll put them on, but if we have to do a little cleanup through forensics and science, we can do that with these last few witnesses who are experts in their field.
Mm-hmm. Right, Josh. I was thinking with this firearms, he seems to be a firearms expert. They might be qualifying him here through this process, but sometimes I was thinking about, like a prop that could be used. I don't know about in your former office. I know in mine, they were made of plastic and they were enlarged, but it was a cartridge, and you could, remove the casing and show everybody the projectile and explain kind of how it all fits together. And sometimes that kind of thing is helpful with this sort of testimony, I think, because jurors, if you're not a gun person, you might be like, what? And he keeps talking about projectiles. What are those? And, what do you think? Maybe something like that could kind of spice it up?
Absolutely. Anytime you can bring the case more alive for jurors, I think the better. I mean, anytime you can bring the jurors out to the scene of the crime, I think the better. It's important for them to understand the environment where this crime took place. They had that diagram that was being used up there on the projector, and that's helpful. But I think I agree with you. Anytime you can use props, anytime you can get a witness off of the stand and have them demonstrate for the jurors that they kind of feel like they're in the moment, it's always going to be helpful to bring that moment. And this is a tense moment. It's an important moment. To bring that moment alive for them will be helpful for the prosecution.
Yes, Josh Ritter, that's another great point. Get the witness out of the box and in front of the jury, teaching them about whatever they need to know, whatever is really important here. I'm not sure where the prosecutor is going, but he wants them to obviously have a real fundamental understanding of firearms and of cartridges. And so we'll see as this questioning continues. But yeah, I think maybe it could be done maybe in a way that's a little more exciting and makes the learning a little more easy to do.